You start off inside the Tuppler, the main ship in the game, actively about to crash. All the systems are telling you to turn, to evade this asteroid, and you turn off the autopilot, and once you turn around you're getting chased by the mascot of the company that you're working for, Poly Express, and things go south. With the autopilot being turned off, you crash straight into the asteroid. The impact from the asteroid has made it to where most of the ship's resources are blocked off by a wall of thick white foam, and the crew is gonna have to survive with what they have while racing against the clock to escape the Tuppler. Everyone's relatively okay, aside from the captain, who's severely injured, unable to talk, and relying on a dwindling supply of painkillers. It cuts to the crew talking together at the table, 2 months after the crash. The members being Jimmy, the now-in-command co-captain, Anya, the mental wreck of a medical officer, Swansea, the mean old drunkard engineer, and Daisuke, a young, laid-back intern. Best character, by the way. And, well, the other member of the crew is Curly, the captain, but like I said, he got injured, to say the least. They talk about what they're gonna do with surviving, debating to access the cargo they're transporting to see if it would help them at all, and after some debate, they agree to see what's inside. Once they open it, yeah. Lots and lots of mouthwash. Being packed full of sugar and ethanol, the crew begins surviving off these bottles of mouthwash. However, because of the high alcohol content in this mouthwash, they all enter a state of never-ending drunkenness. Tensions rise as the crew become more and more intoxicated, just trying to stay alive on a diet of mouthwash and hardly any food. Eventually, Anya loses it. She locks herself inside the medical bay with a recovering captain. Jimmy sees this and gets worried, wanting to help Anya and make sure she doesn't do anything crazy. He convinces Daisuke to climb through the vent system to get into medical. Although this entire time, Swansea's been saying that engineering is filled with foam and they couldn't go through it without risking having a breach into space, blocking them off from entering the room. Jimmy decides the most sane thing to do in this situation is to drug Swansea, knocking him out and go in there anyways. Turns out there's nothing wrong in there, it's completely fine, and there's even a functional cryopod that can keep someone alive for up to 20 years. But we'll get back to that later. Daisuke attempts to climb through these vents but gets severely injured, forced to retreat back to Swansea and Jimmy for treatment. While Jimmy thinks mouthwash will work as an effective disinfectant, Daisuke's injuries prove to be far too much for him to handle, getting infected and forcing some extreme measures to be taken. Seeing what's happening to his crewmate, Swansea takes it upon himself to put Daisuke out of his misery. He reluctantly kills the young intern with a fire axe before pointing the finger at Jimmy for setting him in the vents to begin with. The game cuts back to even further before the crash. Days before the crash, it's revealed to Curly that the crew is being laid off after the shipment comes to port. Curly breaks the news to everyone and they don't receive it well. Everyone obviously angry and tensions start to rise. It's at this moment that word comes out that Anya is pregnant and Jimmy is the father. Anya also heavily implies that she never meant to sleep with Jimmy and was by the Tuppler co-captain Jimmy. In a bout of stress-induced rage, thanks to the discovery that Anya is pregnant and everyone on board the Tuppler is about to be fired, Jimmy takes control of the ship, crashing it into the asteroid, responsible for everyone being stranded in space. So yeah, Jimmy is the reason the crash happened and he's an awful person. The game jumps back to the present. Jimmy is still trying to get into medbay, and after weeks of trying, he's finally able to get the door open, and Anya killed herself. If suicide wasn't bad enough, she did it by way of overdose on what little medication they had left. Angry that he couldn't get to Anya sooner, Jimmy goes after Swansea, but before killing him with a revolver that he finds, in Swansea's final moments, he gives a really emotional speech. "I have something to say. So shut the fuck up and listen. I spent 13 years half cut up to my eyeballs. Drunk, to put it mildly. Then suddenly, I saw it, a streetlight shining in my face. 500 gigawatts of the power of God. A vision of my bloated body found in some ditch. Scared me straight, so I got a collar shirt, mortgage, and a credit card. All the things that make a good man. I hoped I could raise my children to be better than their old man. I wanted to believe I was never one setback away from my worst self. But the truth is, discipline, drive, routine, the endless fucking desperation to get shit done, a loving wife, great kids, sobriety. I'm telling you, accomplishments I've been chasing all my life, never felt as good as I expected when I crossed the finish line. So now that we're at the end, taking inventory, those nights spinning out of my head, sinking into the sofa, broken glass in my palms bleeding dry, the funniest thing ever. Old dogs laughing and snarling on a waterbed floor, mocking the moon for daring to show its face, all nausea and wreckage and vomit and ugly cruelty. The only problem in the world? An empty bottle. Those were the best days of my life. Yeah, those were the best days of my life. I got nothing to hide, ready to face the music. I can see myself for what I am. But you, a cowardly, selfish motherfucker, and you can't even see it. I should have been able to protect the kid. If I could have done one thing right, I wish it had been to give him one small chance off this goddamn rock.
Swansea, I'm going to fix everything. We're going to make it.
Fuck you. With everyone else on the ship dead except Curly, who remains on life support, Jimmy's sanity rapidly declines. He begins hallucinating, seeing visions of his former crew members embodying pieces of his very own psyche. As a part of these visions, he sees the crew verbally abusing him for his actions, and in one pretty gruesome sequence, he even envisions cutting and eating Curly's leg to desperately satiate his insurmountable hunger. Coming to for a moment, Jimmy realizes what he's done. He then moves Curly into the ship's lone escape pod, placing the still-alive captain into cryosleep, and sending him out into the cosmos. With Curly gone, Jimmy finally turns a revolver on himself, selfishly considering himself a hero for saving the captain's life. The game ends with Curly's pod floating in space, leaving his fate completely ambiguous. Will there be a second game? I don't know, but it really doesn't need one. This story is extremely well put together, and honestly, I just want to see another game by the developers. Sorry for such a short video, but I really wanted to talk about this game, and I've been working on an extremely long script for another iceberg I'll be doing. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you did, and have a great rest of your day, week, month, and I'll see you in the next one. Jim?